how a university in Accra is teaching communications majors how to think outside the box. In our Music Makers segment, a project that combines the Nile region's diverse instruments, languages, and traditions. And actress, philanthropist, and activist Angelina Jolie reaches a milestone. Africa 54 starts right now.
Good evening and welcome. I'm Vincent Makori. This is Africa 54. First tonight, Ghanaians began 3 days of mourning Friday following a deadly explosion at a gas station in the capital, Accra. The West African nation's President John Dramani Mahama says the death toll could have climbed to up to 150. It remains unclear what caused the explosion early Thursday morning at a gas station in Accra, where people had gathered for shelter during torrential rains that produced flooding. People were burned beyond recognition where they stood under the station's awnings or trapped in the charred wreckage of parked cars and minivans. The incident exposed Accra's vulnerability to storms. Poor drainage and weak infrastructure has failed to keep pace with population growth after years of rapid economic expansion. While in Central Africa, protests erupted in Burundi's capital on Friday following the postponement of the local and parliamentary elections. At least one public service vehicle was set on fire in Bujumbura as protests against President Pierre Nkurunziza continue. The decision by Mr. Nkurunziza to seek a third term in office has plunged the nation into its worst crisis since an ethnically charged civil war ended in 2005. Now, the protesters say his move violates the constitution, which sets a two-term limit. We turn to France now, where authorities have evacuated hundreds of African migrants from a squalid camp north of Paris and relocated them to shelters across the city's region. Africa 54's Esther Gidui-Ewart has a report.
More than 380 migrants, mostly from East Africa, were living in slum-like conditions under a railway bridge near the Gare du Nord train terminal since last year. Paris police launched an operation earlier this week after applying for an urgent evacuation order to put an end to the deteriorating health and security situation where the migrants were living in deplorable conditions. Speaking to the press, Paris Police Prefect Bernard Bocuse said the migrants, some of them women and children, had received priority treatment and have been relocated to various centers according to their unique circumstances.
In consultation with Paris City Hall, with city councillors, I decided to apply for an urgent evacuation order to put an end to the worsening health and security situation which had been observed in this camp in which people were living in extremely tough conditions.
Meanwhile, French media reports that 2 migrant camps are also being evacuated in the northern coastal town of Calais, another hotbed of tension as migrants from various parts of the world attempt to reach Britain. And as police continued to evacuate hundreds of African migrants from under the bridge, a French asylum charity, Tal d'Azil, hoped the new refugee starters would mark the beginning of a new life for them. Pierre Henry, Secretary General for the charity, told reporters in Paris that the living conditions in the camp where the migrants were found meant something had to be done.
People have been living in excrement and filth for months. Let's be clear about this and don't have any information about their rights. This situation has to be stopped. It is being stopped, and that's a very good thing.
About 250 tents were crammed under a raised railway line in the La Chapelle district of Paris, where many possessions were abandoned as the migrants moved on. The French charity Tal d'Azil hopes the migrants will be awarded refugee status and support by the French authorities. Esther Gidui-Ewart, VOA News, Washington.
Well, declining newspaper sales, the rise of citizen journalism and use of new technologies are causing concern at some university campuses in Africa. The African University College of Communications in Accra, Ghana, is one of those universities that are rethinking how to effectively teach communications. VOA's Paul Ndiho has more.
Established in 2001 as the Africa Institute of Journalism and Communication, the Africa University College of Communications has grown into a private, fully accredited institution that offers a carefully designed and uniquely branded programs at both undergraduate and postgraduate levels. Kojo Yanka is the founder and president of the university.
You know, journalism at the beginning was just reporting, writing, and editing. And that was how even the Ghana Institute of Journalism was set up to do. But then, communication, I took the broad fields. Communication should be more encompassing. So I had to spread into public relations, advertising, marketing. Then, an equally more important area is development journalism.
The university has approximately 1,700 students from nearly 16 African countries. Now, the university is branching into radio and television.
So we are now branching into multimedia studies to give a broad range of skills at the feet of students, for them to see how can we now apply these skills, technological skills, to do better what we were doing before.
Industry experts say that online publishing and multimedia communications are among the top growing industries, and they are the future of journalism. Some university students asked me to explain why multimedia journalists are trending upward. For me, it was more about passion. To be a reporter, you really have to study hard, like you guys are doing. Make sure that you read a lot, not just reading newspapers or just reading about what's going on around you, but beyond just things that you do at school. The other thing that works for me is practice. And since you guys are aspiring journalists, practice makes perfect. Despite those fears, journalism and communication studies are still very relevant, and the courses are attracting a lot of international students with varied reasons for selecting their particular path of study.
The basic reason why I chose this school was because it was a communication school, and I was pursuing mass communication back in Nigeria before I changed to Ghana.
It's a communication specialized school. And, you know, it helps. They have different experts who teach you very well in your field and make sure that you come out with the best.
And when it comes to the kind of courses they handle, especially the one I'm specializing in, strategic communication, find out that they are like one of the best around.
The main goal for Musa Larry Prince is to learn and enhance his communication skills.
As someone who is interested in social issues and media in particular, I had the desire to enroll in a communications school.
Most exciting, perhaps, is that Kojo Yanka recently added a business school that is also generating a lot of buzz. And he also has his sights set on Liberia and Sierra Leone, where he's already in talks with the relevant ministries to open up satellite AUCC campuses. Paul Ndiho, VOA News.
Well, for more insight into teaching new age journalism and the role and power of media, I'm delighted to introduce Mr. Kojo Yanka, founder and president at Africa University College of Communication. He's also the chairman of TV3 Network Limited in Ghana. Mr. Yanka, welcome to Africa 54.
Thank you.
First, it's not every day you meet the person who is the president of a communications college and is also the president or chairman of a media house. Which one influenced which?
I believe my background in the media gave rise to the role that I'm currently occupying at TV3.
Yes. Now, you in the report we saw from our reporter Paul, you kind of saw a gap in media training. When you observe the landscape across Africa, would you say that is a kind of the same thing you observe beyond the borders of Ghana, that there's a lack of proper training in journalism?
That is very true. You know, pluralism, in other words, opening up the media for private participation, came also with the advent of democracy. Democratization took place in Africa, or started coming out in the 80s, and you saw that before that there were only state monopolies in terms of radio and television. Mm-hmm. So as time went on and every country realized that democracy was the way to go, we suddenly found ourselves in a situation where you have liberated the press, but didn't have the trained people to man them.
But what kind of training really can stand the challenges of our time? Because we're living at a digital age where so many people are actually playing journalists, although they are not properly trained journalists, and they sell.
Yeah. Let me go back a little bit. You know, before digital, we had training schools doing virtually reporting, writing, editing,
Yes.
and that was it. What is current now is that you need a combination of independent thinking, analysis. So you need some kind of liberal background to now introduce you to the profession itself. There are ethics and all.
But Mr. Chairman, do we necessarily have an age over somebody out there on their computer, on their tablet, who can actually put out anything and it's consumed by people across the social media? Are we under threat, those of us who are practicing traditional journalism?
In some way, but I still doubt whether they replace traditional journalism.
Yeah.
Citizens can just put forward anything. There are certain stories that plague the ethics of the profession. And you must be a professional to know where the boundaries are.
Exactly. Now, tell us a little bit about TV3. It's one of the biggest networks in Ghana. To what extent do you see it as playing a role in development in the country, in transformation of society?
TV3's main mission is to help to transform the society socially, politically, and economically. So TV3 goes out with its slogan, first in news and best in entertainment, to be very fast in getting the news across to its viewers and then ensuring that people also have the background to the stories. And then, of course, there are lighter moments in entertainment and sports, but it's important that TV3 has set itself the goal of spreading its coverage across not just Ghana, but across the rest of West Africa. And that is the goal for the next 5 years.
Now, to what extent do you see the media really as having that influence in a society where sometimes the politicians, the people with the means, are the ones who actually call the day? To what extent can you as a journalist, set the agenda?
It's a difficult situation to think that, you know, traditionally, say the media set the agenda. Sometimes I'm not very sure whether they do. Sometimes I believe is that the history makers, development makers, the small manufacturers, the innovators, they really set the agenda. What journalists need to do is now go out and look for them and bring them up to the public eye. Now, it's very easy to say, oh, well, we set the agenda, and therefore we have everything we put out there will be accepted by the public. It's not entirely true. We need to know what the society is looking for. At the moment, the society is shifting towards social media. The society is shifting towards their mobile phones. So how do we then rearrange in terms of the kind of trading methodology to meet that kind of demand? We can't continue to do the same old things that we're doing. We must look at the viewers, the listeners on the ground. What are they running for? What do they want? People now are more curious about technology. They are more curious about other cultures. They want to know more about other people. So
we must transform, otherwise we perish.
Precisely.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much for joining us today. Kojo Yanka is the founder and president, Africa University College of Communications, as well as chairman of TV3 Network. Limited in Ghana. Now, we want to know what you think about Africa 54 and the stories we covered. Join the conversation on Facebook. The address is Africa 54. Check out our headlines 24/7 on voaafrica.com. Coming up, how a musical collaboration is inspiring global Nile citizens beyond Africa. Stay with us. Welcome back. It's time for Music Makers Friday. Today we feature a musical collaboration program, the Nile Project. Music Time in Africa host Heather Maxwell tells us more about the project and the man behind it. Heather?
So would you tell us, what is the Nile Project exactly?
The Nile Project is an initiative to inspire a more integrated approach to solve our water challenges in the Nile Basin. We bring together musicians from the 11 countries to collaborate, and using that collaboration to inspire other ways of cooperating to solve many of our water conflict issues.
So what 11 countries are involved?
Well, we can start from the White Nile that is surrounded by Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Rwanda, Burundi, the Democratic Republic of Congo, South Sudan, and Ethiopia on the Blue Nile, meeting the White Nile in Khartoum, Sudan, and then into Egypt and the Mediterranean.
The musicians working together, is that like a model for how people can work together to resolve problems related to water?
We do hope that the collaborations that we have on stage inspire similar ways of approaching the challenges we face. By combining many of our rhythms, many of our musical modes, many of our instruments, we find creative solutions to address many of the challenges we face as musicians, but in the hope that this collaboration inspires similar creative solutions in the water sector.
Well, African women have made considerable gains in the political, economic and social development of the continent. Some, however, say they are still widely marginalized within government. Now, the African Union has declared 2015 the year of women's empowerment and development towards Africa's Agenda 2063. And many women say it's time to put such public declarations into practice. Maria Diallo has more.
Women are empowered throughout the fabric of Rwandan society and even make up 64% of the parliament, says Rwandan ambassador to the United States, Mathilde Mukantabana.
Primary and secondary schools are free. It means that once you give them that strong beginning, then you are, with the other programs at the higher level of university and professional education, women are as competing as men. So we have women who are now flying the high skies in my country.
But Mukantabana says in other parts of Africa, women remain excluded from social, economic and political power by a lack of education and the inability to own and inherit property.
For me, women's right is a human right. That's the bottom line.
Empowering women benefits an entire nation, says Mozambique's ambassador to the U.S., Amelia Matos Sumbana, who also stresses that it cannot be accomplished without men's help.
Why? Because in our societies in Africa, you know that the society is male-dominated. And if we don't have men working along with us, we can have much more difficulties than what we are having now. It's fortunate that men are becoming much more sensitive to the gender issues.
For that reason, laws alone will not bring enough change, says Kamisa Kamara with the National Endowment for Democracy.
The structural barriers that affect women on the African continent and elsewhere also, mostly tradition, religion, patriarchy, etc., are barriers that can only be addressed through a change in mentality.
That change is key, the ambassadors say, because full development cannot happen if half of Africa's population is not fully recognized as equal partners in society. In Washington, Mariama Diallo, VOA News.
Well, it's time now for a short break. Still to come on Africa 54, actress and philanthropist Angelina Jolie reaches a milestone. We'll be right back.
If you've just joined us, I'm Mariama Diallo, and here is a quick recap of today's headlines. In South Africa, delegates meet in Cape Town for the World Economic Forum on Africa to discuss business and development. The United Nations urges new Nigerian President Muhammadu Buhari to prosecute Boko Haram crimes. And Nigerian refugees fleeing Boko Haram face dire conditions in camps in Cameroon. In Libya, more than 400 migrants bound for Europe are arrested in the country. Finally, skilled artisans in Morocco make raffia shoes destined for foreign American and European markets. That's all for today. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Welcome back to Africa 54. Here's what's trending. Hollywood superstar, philanthropist and mother Angelina Jolie has turned 40. Jolie won an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress for 1990's 99's Girl Interrupted, where she played a psychiatric patient. Jolie and husband Brad Pitt married on their French estate in 2014 in a private ceremony attended by family and friends. She and Pitt have 6 children in their family, including 3 that are adopted. Away from Hollywood, Jolie has become known for her humanitarian efforts, which includes her role as Special Envoy of the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees. She's also known for raising awareness about ovarian and breast cancer. Well, next up, it's a banner week for Keeping Up with the Jenners. Kendall and Kylie Jenner caused a fan frenzy at the launch of their new collection for Topshop in Los Angeles. The sisters briefly paused in front of the store at the Grove and then rushed off the scene. The famous teens' vintage-inspired collection includes distressed denim shorts, slogan T-shirts, printed rompers, and maxi dresses. Kendall and Kylie, along with sisters Kim, Khloe, and Kourtney Kardashian, are featured on the E! reality series, Keeping Up with the Kardashians. And that is what is trending today. Well, it's been an exciting week in sports. For all of the highlights, we turn to Sunny Young with the sunny side of sports. Sunny.
Hi, Vincent, and sporty greetings once again to our Africa 54 viewers. The 24-team Women's World Cup football tournament kicks off this weekend in Canada. There's the prize the teams will be playing for, the Women's World Cup trophy, which will be lifted high by the winning squad on July 5th in Vancouver, Canada. The month-long competition will be the first Women's World Cup played on artificial turf, a controversial issue since the players say it makes them more susceptible to injuries. The Matildas of Australia are one of the teams playing in Australia. After arriving, they signed soccer balls and other items for children who greeted them at the airport. The Australian women are in one of the toughest first-round groups at the tournament, along with Nigeria, Sweden, and the two-time world champion, United States. From Canada, let's go to Long Island, New York, where an American thoroughbred racehorse will try to make history this weekend. There we see American Pharaoh, so named because of the dual American-Egyptian citizenship of his owner, Ahmed Zayat. American Pharaoh is the featured horse in the 147th running of the Belmont Stakes. American Pharaoh is trying to become the first horse since affirmed in 1978 to win all three jewels in the Triple Crown of American horse racing, the Kentucky Derby, the Preakness Stakes, and the Belmont Stakes. The Belmont, at 1.5 miles and 12 furlongs, is the longest of the three Triple Crown races, and because of the distance, it's foiled more than a few Triple Crown challengers over the years. I'm VOA's Sunny Young, and that's the sunny side of sports. Going to head the ball back to Vincent Makori.
Well, thanks a lot, Sunny. And remember to watch for the sunny side of sports every Monday and Friday right here on Africa 54. That's our show for today. Be sure to watch Africa 54 on our website at voaafrica.com. For more news, tune in to VOA's evening radio show, Africa News Tonight, at 1800 UTC, and in the mornings to Daybreak Africa between 0300 and 0600 UTC, Monday through Friday. Thanks a lot for watching from all of us here in Washington. Have a good night. Great.
Real talk, real issues. The Real Africa. It's time to get the scoop. Monday through Friday on VOA. Find your time zone and get the scoop.
Music is something that brings people together.
Music educates, it motivates, it's a bridge.
Music. Allie.
On
VOA.
qubanaha VOA waxaan ku soo gudbinnaa qubanayaal goosgoosa oo xiiso badan oo ku saabsan arrimaha Soomaaliya, Maraykanka iyo caalamkaba.
haddaba qubanaha VOA-da kala soco website-keenna voasomali.com.
From VOA Learning English, this is the Technology Report.
I'm Milar Sega. I'm the host of VOA's The Correspondents.
A roundup of the world's top stories.
Here's a false choice in more ways than one.
We can't actually put you there, but we can come pretty close. In 30 minutes, we'll show you the world.